Hey guys, and welcome back to Jalen Says. And today we were with Minister Kendra JALEN. So, what brings you here today, ma'am? You are muted. Miss Kendra, you're muted.
I'm so sorry. You can tell I'm an amateur, right? I just wanted to say, first of all, hi, Jalen. Thank you so much for the invite. I'm happy to be here. And I'm here tonight to discuss my new project, my new book, and any other things that you want to discuss tonight.
Okay. Okay, so you are an ordained minister, you are an author.
Yes.
You also known my mom for over some like 20 years now.
Yes.
You, you're
Yes.
a singer. So, what made you get into this whole realm of, I guess, possibilities first?
This whole realm of possibilities.
Yeah, this whole realm of possibilities that you turned into opportunities and your
Well,
lifestyle, I guess.
well, I will tell you, first of all, let me say I've always, in terms of writing, I've always loved to write, even as a child. I would write little fables. They didn't make any sense then, but it was always a dream of mine to write. But as I grew older, of course, life happens, and I go and I do what you do as an adult. I had to adult. I had to be a mom, as a single mom at that. So during that process, the whole writing thing kind of went to the back of my mind. But something happened, and I call it a term of unfortunate events that made the writing come back to the forefront. And I talk about that a little bit in my book, where I was actually working a job that I had said to myself I was going to retire from. I felt like it was a very good job. I was making a really good money. But one day the inevitable happened and I was let go. And when I was let go, I kind of went into a little depression for a moment because I was like, what am I going to do now? And it's so amazing that even during that time of disappointment and hardship, the Lord brought back to remembrance, you want to be a writer. And I had started a project like 12 years earlier, but I put it to the side for various reasons. But when I was let go from my job, I had four different confirmations that the Lord wanted me to finish my book. And that was the first book that I finished, which is called Help My Flesh is Killing Me. And from there, the writing book just kind of came back alive. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to follow my dreams of being an author. And so I wrote my first book, and this is my second, and I've already started on my third. So I'm looking forward to the life of being an author.
Wow. Wow. Okay, so with what happened with your job, it opened up an opportunity. What was your road to becoming an author
The
between those
road
two points? Yeah.
from when I was terminated from my job, or just in.
Well, I guess we could start from the beginning because that you just said you wanted to be well, you were making bunch of fables. They may not have made sense, but you're making them when you're a child. And
Mhm.
what was your steps to making that? I guess an actual physical copy of a book. What was your
It was just a matter of really just, sitting down and realizing, this is something that I felt like I was really good at. I've always felt like I was a real creative and innovative person when it comes to writing. Writing was one of my strong suits in school. I was not anywhere near the honor roll person in school, but one thing I could do was write. So I never had a problem with writing. I never had a problem with English because that was something that I loved doing. So when everything happened with my job, again, like I said, I'd already start writing the book. And so I just picked it back up. I picked it back up and I thought to myself, I was like, actually, I just actually preached a sermon here a couple of Sundays ago. And I had that same thought then was now is the time. It's now or never. And so I picked it back up because I realized it was something that was burning on the inside of me. Again, like I said, I had all these little fables that I wrote as a child, and even growing up, even when my son was born, I remember writing a book when he was born. It was called The Adventures of Landon Arnold. And I was just going to make it a series. And again, it was something that I put to the side. But with this, I just picked it back up and I followed through to the end. I was able to complete the book and self-publish the book because I am a self-published author. Um, so I was just able to finish it to the end. And when I actually saw that project in front of me, I felt really good about it because I finally had birthed something that I had been speaking about.
Wow. So with birthing what you were speaking about, how did it feel when you actually achieved what you were, I guess,
It
trying to achieve?
it actually felt really amazing because again, anytime you finish something that you start, it gives you this sense of accomplishment. And again, it was something that I had finished. I didn't just start something because I will be honest, I am the person to start and stop things, but I'm also the person that'll finish something to the end. So to actually see that in my hand, it was like wow. And not only to see it in my hands, but when I read the book, when I read my first book, I was like, oh my God, I wrote this. It was really good. It had some really good information in it. And so I was so excited. And then one thing about it, once you get one victory, you know that you can get another one. And so that's what happened with this one. When I finished this first book, I was like, I can do it again, and I'd already had the title. So I knew what God wanted me to talk about next. And that's how we came into the Wealthy Cemetery.
Wow. So you've written three books now. So to piece this off, starting from the newest one, what made you want to make a book called The Wealthy Cemetery? Because I know the book's releasing very soon, but without reading it, I really just want to know, what is it about?
So it's funny that you say that because my daughter had that same reaction. But during my time that I was actually out of work, I even as a minister, I'm going to admit something that most ministers probably wouldn't admit, and that is I fell into a state of depression. And because I didn't have a job anymore, I had been on my job for almost 17 years. I didn't have a job anymore. I had children I had to take care of, and I didn't have that level of control that I've always had. And so I fell into a very a level of depression. And so what happened one day was I was laying here. Everybody had gone off to school and work or wherever they had to go. And I was sitting here. I was like, I got to get out of here. I got to get out of this house. And so I went to the park and I began to walk around the park, the track at my local park. And as I was walking, I'm listening to, people work out to music, and I was doing that. But that particular day, I started working out to like inspirational messages. And
Yes.
one of the messages that came across was by Les Brown, and it talked about the richest place in the world is the cemetery. And it talked about the fact that the reason that's the richest place is because people will go to their grave without pursuing their dreams, without even tapping into the gifts that they have and all the ideas that they want to do. They won't even try because of fear or any some other small problem. And I thought to myself, I was like, wow, that is what I was about to do. I was about to take with me to the grave all of these books that I have inside of me and these ideas and creative moments that I want to, or creative things that I want to bring to pass. And I played that over and over and over. And then I just could hear God say, that is your next book. And I was like, okay, came home and I started working on it. And here we are today from the track to 7 days away from launching it.
Wow. So again, how long ago was that?
So I was actually let go in 20, I want to say 2017. So now we're in 2023. So that's how long it's been. Because again, I picked the book up, but again, I'm panicking because I got to find a job. I got to find a job, and so I'm writing, but I'm not writing as much as I was, should have been writing. I finished the first book, but then as I finished the first book, the second book came to my, back to my remembrance of what happened when I was out of works, and that's how the second book came into play. So it's been some years. It's been some
Yeah,
years.
it's been some years. So
Yeah, you normally don't carry a baby for years, but I carried this baby for some years.
yes, wow. But before I get in more into your books and being an author, you're also an ordained minister, which you talked about a little bit.
Mhm.
When did that, I guess, happen? When did you feel like this was your calling?
Oh man, I knew in my early 20s, and so that the Lord had something special for me, and I knew that I was being called into ministry um, at my at my former church. And the funny thing about it was my former church was strictly Baptist, and they didn't believe in women ministers at the time. So here I am coming forth saying I was called to preach, and they're looking at me like, yeah, I don't think so. But I knew, because it was just something that was inside, it was a personal experience that I was having with God, that I knew that this is what He wanted me to do. I knew that I was supposed to spread the good news and the gospel. I knew that it's not something I wanted to do because I was having fun doing what I was doing. But I knew that there was a higher calling on my life. And what God did, instead of allowing me to be in a place that uh, would suppress what He was trying to do, He allowed me to move to a ministry that, believed in female ministers, not only believed in them, but birthed them and nurtured them, and grew them into some great ministers. And so that's how I ended up at the ministry that I met your mom at, and that I am at today. So that's how it happened. And that was like, let's see, 20, I went I maybe like 28 years ago, I almost 29 years, 30 years that I went to that ministry. So yeah, and I've been in ministry about 22 years, 22, 23 years.
So, with all that you do, and especially back then, how did you kind of find a place to fill God in with? Because a lot of people get lost in a lot of other things they're doing, especially if it's like a really good job or a really strong passion. How do you even now still keep, I guess, the area?
I mean, you know, God is He's my that's my central place. So everything I am, everything I do, it revolves around my relationship with God. So I make time. I have to make time, because if I didn't make time and put God at the center of who I am and what I do, I wouldn't be here talking to you. I would probably be outside talking to the sidewalk. So I just make sure to keep the priority. And that's the way I was raised. I was raised up in church. And I guess it is true that what it says, you train up a child in the way they should go. And when they old, they will not stray from it. And I haven't strayed from it. I haven't always been right, haven't always made the right decisions, but I've always knew what my power was. I always knew what my strength was. And I always knew what I should make my focal point. And so I just make sure whatever's going on in life, I just make sure that I keep God center of my life and center of everything that's going on. And especially now, because right now is a challenging time for me, because I'm dealing with so many things at one time. But by the grace of God, He's allowed me, to go through it and deal with it, and to, be able to come out victoriously. So
Yes, yes. With carrying God with, I guess not carrying God, but having God with you with everything that you do, how have you seen, I guess, changes from the parts when you strayed away?
well, I mean, I'm more of I'm more dedicated than I've ever been. I'm more sincere about ministry. I'm not only about ministry, but I'm more sincere about my walk with Christ. I'm more sincere about, sharing the word of God with others. Um, I'm just more I'm just more sincere about God than I was before. Before, like I said, I grew up in church. So for a moment, church was it was I would go to church out of obligation, because I grew up in church, and that's what you're supposed to do. Your mother had you in church, your mother had you in vacation Bible school, your mother had you in Sunday school, your mother had you in Bible study, your mother had you in a choir. It was what you were supposed to do. So of course I grew up, just out of obligation, going to church out of obligation. But somewhere along the line from obligation, it was no longer about obligation. It was about I knew that this is what I was supposed to be doing. I knew that, God was not a part of my life, but he was my life, and everything else was a part of my God life, if that makes sense.
So how did you feel growing up going to church as a child, I guess? How did you
I
feel at the time you had to?
I mean, I felt really good because again, the church I went to grew up in as a child, it was fun because of, a lot of things we did. Now I'm not gonna, not gonna tell you a story. There were some days I'm like, do we have to go tonight? Because it was like we were in church all the time. But I appreciate it now. And I realize something that I see too is that when I became a parent, I began to mimic what my mom did. So I had my children in church all the time. So we would go not only once one service on Sunday, we would go to three services on Sunday. It was just what I what was brought up in me. And so I was fine with it, even as I look back now as an adult, I realized that was my foundation though. There was no place else I would rather be, honestly, you know. My church made church fun,
Yeah.
so I loved going to church. There's some days now that I'm kind of like, I don't know, but you have to remember why you're there, and then you know
So you were basically in church all week.
all the time.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember something that my pastor, Bishop Smith, would always say about him being in church, and he would tell people he met people. He would say he was on drugs, and, that's because he was drugged to church and drugged to Bible study, and that was us. We were literally drugged to church. It's like you're going to church today. The church fan will be here today, so we were always in church. But I don't feel I'm not. I don't feel any ways about it, like any negative way about it.
Yeah. So how was your life like growing up in general?
I mean, I had a good life. I mean, I had, just like anybody else, I had trials. I come from a single family home. My mom and my dad actually divorced when I want to say I was 14. That was a very trying time for me because I didn't understand why. And so sometimes when you don't understand why, you begin to make up things in your head. So I thought it was me and my sister. We were the reason mom and dad, divorced now. But, it was fine. It was like any other childhood. I had a mom that did absolutely everything she possibly could for us. We may not have had everything, we had some trying times, but my mom, the one thing she never did, she never let us go without. You know what I'm saying? She would go without first. And so that's the type of the mom she was. And so I found myself, kind of, being that kind of mom to my children, just trying to make sure that they had, the things that they need and some of the things that they wanted. And that's how my childhood was. I didn't have a bad childhood. Um, I didn't have that. I mean, I had things going on, but I didn't have, as far as my mom is concerned, I didn't have a bad childhood. My dad wasn't there a lot. Um, but that's life. You deal with it and you keep moving.
Yes. Yeah. So after I guess you got out the nest, what was your steps?
Got out the nest from being up under my mom.
Yeah.
Well, I had my daughter. One of the things that, and it's my testimony, so it's nothing that I'm shameful about, but I got pregnant with my daughter when I was a senior in high school. When I graduated, and had my daughter, we were staying with my mom. So normally, I think it's people, the individual leave. Well, that wasn't my case. I didn't move out. My mom moved out. So she was like, "Look, I gotten you this apartment. You're gonna be fine. I'm moving out." So she got us the She got me the apartment. I think I had about a year up under her, and then I was able to transfer it to my own name. But and that was at the age of, I want to say, 20. So I've been out of my mom's house since I was 20. I've been out of mom's house since I was 20. So it's been um it's been a learning experience. She prepared me for life as much as she could, but I had to walk in my own, I had to develop my own testimony, and so that's what I've done. You know, raising my children. So it's been difficult sometimes again because I was a single parent, but even with being a single parent, I've been able to provide a good life for my children. Because I had that role model, I had that in my mom, and so I was able to do that for my children. So again, it hasn't been easy. As Langston Hughes said, life for me has not been a crystal stair, but I'm grateful that I was able to maneuver through life and make it to the point that I'm at right now.
Okay. So, with life not being, well, for no one life is easy. For no one life
Mhm.
just, hey, get out of get out of parents' house, go out, become the next Elon Musk. It's all a challenge. But what
Mhm.
challenge for you really impacted your life for, I guess, a better understanding?
I mean, the challenge that really impacted my life again was, I knew the type of life I wanted to have, right? I knew the type of life I wanted to give my children. And I had to go through seasons where I could not give them that life in order to get them that life. So, we had to, we were on welfare. We had we had the food stamps. We had the Section 8 housing. We had all of that. That was a challenge. But I knew for me, the thing that I was not going to allow was I was not going to allow myself or my children to live off the system. I'm the first one in my immediate family to be a homeowner. And so that to me, that was major. And so I feel like even with that, being able to do that, I was able to show my children that, it doesn't matter where you come from. If you want something bad enough, you work for it, you can get it. And so, the biggest challenge was for me is to, be the mom I wanted to be for my family without having the crutch of um, government aid. I knew I wasn't going to live off the system. I needed it for a moment. I used it for what it was for, and I moved on. And thank God that I haven't had to. I'm not on it now. How about that?
Yes. With going through your life, what are some of the ups that kept you through the challenges?
Some of the ups that kept me to the challenge, of course, as we already talked about, was my relationship with God. That's going to be always the focus point that kept me up. But also my children. My children have been my greatest inspiration. Um, it didn't matter what was going on in life. When I was able to look into the eyes of Jasmine, Mariah, and Landon and see the love that was looking back at me, to see the level of gratitude, to see, how proud they look back at me, and I was like this big thing in their eyes. That kept me up. That kept me from, doing it kept me from just giving up. You know what I mean? So having my children, having my mom, who I feel like has been hands down one of my greatest cheerleaders. I don't care what happened. I don't care who walked out of my life. I don't care what people said about me, and they have said a lot of things. But my mom was always there encouraging me. She was always there, telling me, what she's always told me, how I could make it, how I could be anything I wanted to be, how beautiful I was. So, to have my children, my mom, to have my sister, who is my best friend, to have them there. And then, 5 years ago, the Lord blessed me with a granddaughter. I mean, hey, every time I look at her, that gives me joy. Even in moments now that I feel burdened down, I can look at her and be like, hey, that smile in itself, it keeps me up, it lifts me and picks me up. So those are some of the things. And then I have been blessed to have some great um friends. Now I had to go through some enemies to get those friends. So I'm appreciative of the friends I have. So I'm grateful. I have a really good friend circle. And it's not big, but it's solid. And
Yes.
so those are the things that keep me. up when the enemy try to keep me down.
Wow. Okay. When you keep yourself up, also you're an ordained minister, and
Mhm.
for your book release, I saw that you're going to a mental health place to, well, mental health help, which,
So it's actually it's called Mental Fitness Academy, and I can't speak a lot on it because I don't know a lot of it, but it's more it's a it deals with STEM and just the mental
oh,
fitness of mind for
yes,
children. And so I've been able to look at some of the, I was there, when they did their open house and just seeing the kids work with those gadgets that at my age I find very difficult. But then when I'm looking at the children in this academy and even my granddaughter working gadgets that we couldn't even work at that age, it's amazing. So it's more of trying to, I think with this particular place, it's more of just stretching the mind, you know, beyond the norm is
wow.
what I think it is. So it seems like it, from what I can tell, it seems very, very good and definitely something that I would tell people to check out. Yeah.
Wow. What do you feel about when you see things that I guess are improving the youth, that are improving the mental strength of the youth that will eventually become the adults that help influence the world around them? What do you feel when you see things like that just improving the youth?
I'm encouraged. I'm encouraged because, again, you just said it. One day these are going to be our leaders. You
Yeah.
know, you all are going to be our next president, our next senators, and our next Congress people, our next doctors and lawyers, and so when I'm seeing young people actually using, their mind and really expanding their mind, I'm very encouraged because it lets me know that there's a possibility we're in good hands. We're going to be in great hands in the future. Um, and it lets me know too that you know I just like to see people stretch themselves. I didn't really understand much about stretching the mind and stretching your vision and all of that, and honestly until I really came into the ministry I'm in now. I'm in a ministry that you can't help but to stretch your mind. You can't help but to stretch your faith. And so when I'm seeing that in young people, I'm very encouraged for the future. I'm very, even right now with everything that's going on in the world, when I can look out and see that we got, advocates that are young advocates and they're speaking up for civil rights, they're speaking up against police brutality, they're speaking up against, the things that are wrong. I love it. I love it. I'm very encouraged by it. I'm sitting there in awe with most of it because I'm like, wow, this is amazing. I wasn't around for the Martin Luther King era, like to be around now to actually have those mouthpieces is amazing.
Yeah.
I love this generation. I love the way they speak up. I'll say that. I do love that about them.
Yes. Yes. And with a church, as being an ordained minister with a church, also, you focus on mental strength as improving yourself, but also mental health as getting past things. What has your experience helped you with getting through both of those sides of the equation?
My mental strength has helped me. I mean, it's the obvious. It's helped me overcome. It's helped me overcome challenges. It's helped me overcome obstacles. Being in the church, again, for me, it's everything. I can't speak for anybody else. And that's not something I'm going to debate with anybody, whether or not the church is relevant. It's relevant in my life. The word of God is relevant in my life. And without that, again, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to JALEN on tonight. I wouldn't have books that I've published. I wouldn't have businesses that I want to start. I wouldn't have any of that because I would probably be crazy, but to be able to, to just have the church and have the word of God, it's helped me to really overcome a lot.
Yes, but how has you overcoming things and getting past struggles in your own life helped you help people get past struggles in their own life.
I mean, of course, I feel like this. You can't help people if you've never been through anything, right? Um, you can't tell me, a person that's 400 pounds or 600 pounds can't talk to me about weight loss, right? So I feel that way too about, when you're trying to help others. I feel like people are more apt to listen to you when they feel like you understand them. And I think the best way that you can understand somebody is when you're able to say, hey, I've been through that. Or maybe not that, but something similar to that. And look at me, So when you're able to stand as a testimony in front of somebody else, that helps you help them. It helps you to deliver your message that you can make it, that you can overcome, because I was there. So when I'm able to stand in front of people and say, again, life for me, when I can stand before a young mother and they can see that you can still make it even after having children, and having to raise children by yourself, that in itself, it allows me to help them when I'm able to give them my story, when I'm able to tell them how I overcame being a single mom, how I overcame suicide, how I overcame, the struggles of finances, and still overcoming them. So I think when you're able to stand and give your testimony, that helps you to help somebody else. Anybody can say anything, but to me, you're going to be most effective when you can say, I have been there. I have experienced that. And so that's what I feel like me overcoming and my trials have helped me to do for people.
Yeah, like when you said you can't teach anything if you haven't gone through anything, let's say people who, like, I guess born like Elon Musk with a, a couple $1,000s to their name when out of the womb, they can't tell you, oh, well, making $1,000 is pretty easy. I mean, I did it before I was even born, because it's like there's, I guess, a process to it, Like
Mm-hmm.
if someone already told you 2 + 2 = 4, do you know why 2 + 2 = 4? You already have the 4, I guess. That's
Mm-hmm.
basically what I'm
Well,
trying to say.
I mean, so, I mean, even with that, again, you know, Elon Musk story, I mean, I know who he is. I'm be honest with you. I don't follow him because I don't follow crazy. But um, I still feel like there still have to be a certain level of knowledge. Because again, if you have not been there, it's a difference when you've had to experience something and when you've been handed something.
Yes,
You
that's
know,
what.
it's a difference. So I feel like the person who have experience is going to be more effective if the person that's on the other end has an open mind and not just looking for somebody to give them something, but not to just give them something, but give them a lesson. You know what I'm saying? Uh, I can't remember that saying. I wish I could remember it, but it's something about, if you give a man a fish sandwich, he'll be asking for it again. But if you teach
Oh,
him how to fish, you've given him a life lesson. And so I feel like that even when you share your story, when you share your testimony, when you can honestly say, I have been there, you've just provided somebody with a blueprint and a roadmap how they can make it, as opposed to somebody just out of the womb and, hey, I'm royalty. You know what I'm saying? Because that's not likely. That's not. I mean, that happens at what 10%, or even if that may be a high percent. Most of us are going to have to, make it on our
yes.
own. We're going to have to go through the trials of life. We're not going to be handed a born with a silver spoon. You know what I mean? So
Okay. With going through life and being able to tell your journey, what is the next journey for you, in your opinion? What do you think is going to be next for you?
what I think is going to be next for me, I definitely know I'll keep writing, because that's how I express myself. Again, um, I will continue to write. I will continue to preach and teach the word of God. That's because that's my calling. That's not something I can just lay down. I chose writing, but preaching chose me. So those two things I know I will continue to do. There are some things I want to try. I want to get out the boat in this season. I think I've gotten a foot out the boat, but I want to completely get out the boat. And so some things that I'm praying about that I'm not really comfortable right now sharing because it's still, I'm still praying about it. But eventually I wanna write, I wanna preach, I wanna travel across this country, living life. So
Yes.
definitely next for me is to continue to live in the moment and live out loud and to could just I don't know, but I do know those three things. Travel is definitely in my future. I love to travel. Um, Writing is definitely in my future. Um, and preaching. Those things are definitely um in my future. And
Yes.
those are the things that I'm going to focus on them and put my focus around.
So, with everything that you do, what do you want your career to amount to be?
What do I want my what to be?
Your career to amount to?
Um, well, honestly, my career. Honestly, I don't want to work for nobody. So let me just say that. So honestly, what happens with this part of my career, it just happens. It'll just happen. I've been in finances for over 20 plus years, 25 plus years. Um, and again, I just want to do something different. I want to do something different. I really want to do something that's for me, something that's maybe coming out of the 9 to 5 and trying my hand at entrepreneurship. Um, that's honestly what I want. Because I mean, as I get older, I begin to think about the things that's most important. And to me, being on a 9 to 5 stressed out is not as important as it used to be when I was growing up.
We have a question for our audience. What can your ministry do to help keep the family unit together that could be headed for the pitfalls? Can they to help keep them from being a single parent household? That's what I think they can help them.
What can we do to keep families from being a single family household? Is that the
What
question?
can Yeah, what can you help when a family's at a pitfall, basically?
I mean, when the family's at a pitfall, I mean, first of all, we got to recognize and understand that the enemy wants to destroy the family because when a family is strong, you're not going to be able to bring it down. But I think what needs to happen, um, and I mean this is my personal opinion is you got to make sure God is in it. God is in the family. You got to make sure that the that where there's a husband, and then I say this because that's not always the case. It's not always that cookie cutter family life that we seen on TV. So it's not always not husband, wife, children, father, mother, children. Sometimes it's a mother and children. Sometimes it's a father and children. But whatever the case may be, as long as God is above that parent, to help them guide that family, then that family will be okay. Will that family have challenges? Yes, that family will have challenges. But as long as that headship, whether if it's a mother or father, then they're able to turn to God and they're able to, really seek God in the um, instructions and raising their children and steering their family. I think they'll be okay. Now, do we want the mother and the father, the husband and the wife? Of course, but that's not always life. That wasn't my plight. So, but I still have a family. You see what I'm saying? So even though there wasn't a husband and then me or a father and then me, there was still Kendra and her children. So that was still the family unit. So for me, what to help my family not go through that pitfall is I had to turn and make sure that my foundation was good, that I knew where my help came from. I knew where to go to seek guidance and direction. And so I feel like for the family, we got to turn back to God. There's no way around it. We're seeing it right now. We're seeing families turn against each other. It's horrible. So we got to turn back to God. We got to put God back in. And we keep saying we got to put God back in the schools. Well, we got to put God back in the family unit because
No.
somewhere along the way he's been taken out of it. And so that's why you have husband killing wives and wives killing husband, and parents turning on children, children turning on parents. It is horrible. But until we actually get that God back where we need him in the family, then the family structure is going to be broken.
Yes. Yes. And when you were talking, I thought of a quote I recently seen: "Do your best and let God do the rest." So also, if you're not doing your best,
Yeah. I
everyone
mean,
can try to help you, but if you're not doing it for yourself, then
yeah. And that's true. That is true, on one point, but it is also true that we serve such an amazing God that even in moments that we're not doing our best, he is so much God that he won't. This is what I love about God. And I didn't know we were going to go here, but I'm glad we're here. Is the fact that God is so much God that even when I can't articulate, or even when I'm not able to be everything that I feel like I can be, or do everything I can do, I'm glad that God looks at my heart and he sees the desire in my heart to want to do more. And he's patient. He's patient with me. He grants me mercy. And so that's not something that man will always do, but God will always do that. So yeah, it's true, if you do your best, God will do the rest. But it's also true that, hey, God does a lot when we don't do nothing. You know what I'm saying? I can speak for my own life, you know what I'm saying? And I think he does that to help us get, to a point that we can. Because, sometimes, let's be real, sometimes in life things happen that it paralyzes you. You know what I'm saying? Like, it literally paralyzes you. But, as long as you got your hand in God's hands, he'll pull you through. So,
when you're not ministering, writing books, what do you do to relax?
funny, I exercise.
Okay.
I that is my outside sanctuary. I love to walk. I love to walk. I love um I'm running, but not running maybe like you see the athletes do. Shakari Rich, not none of that. But I love to be outside and taking in nature. If I can find me a good trail where I can just walk and look at nature, look at the trees, and I, that's amazing to me, and that relaxes me. When I can't do that, I find myself, kind of built up tension. But I love to walk. I love to exercise. It just gives me a sense of peace. It
Yes.
really does. Yeah, because it's just me. Most of the times when I'm out exercise, it's just me. I don't work out with a group. Very seldom that you'll see me work out with a group of people. Because I mean, I use that time to talk to God. I use that time to meditate. I use that time to listen to um, inspirational messages on YouTube. One of my favorite inspirational motivators is Eric Thomas. And so when I'm out, I'm listening to it, and there I'm thinking, oh man, I can do this, and I get ideas. So when I'm back, I get back to my car, because I keep a journal in my car or wherever I am, I'm writing it down. Oh, I can do this. I want to do this. You know what I'm saying? So when I'm not ministering, when I'm not being grandmama, when I'm not, still being mom, even though my children are grown, I exercise, and that brings me more peace than anything else.
What got you into the habit of walking out into the trails and stuff like that?
Again, when I was terminated from my job, that was the start of it. Because I went to walk around the track, and I would find myself walking around the track, and I would find myself so relaxed. And when I was walking, when I was exercising, my mind wasn't on the job I just lost. My mind wasn't on the job that I needed. My mind wasn't on the bills that I had to pay. My mind was simply on what I was doing and what God was speaking to me at that moment. And from that moment to this moment, I developed that love of exercising. And, I had gotten a trainer during that time period, and I'm grateful for that trainer who actually, you know, encouraged me. And I'm so grateful for Bishop O.C. Reese, who encouraged me to stay on the course of exercising. And so it just developed from that moment to this moment. And so that's what I do. I went walking yesterday. I didn't go walking today because the time wouldn't allow me class, so I had to get ready for your show. So I didn't have an opportunity to do so, but I'll get it in tomorrow for today.
So with everything that you do, you're also improving on yourself. What do you do to really improve yourself even further than how you already did?
Well, I mean, again, like I just said, I went back to school at 50 years old because I wanted to, again, I wanted to accomplish something that I've always wanted to accomplish. And I wanted to put myself in a better situation, um, for opportunities as well. So I'm back in school. Um, that's been one of the greatest things I've done to improve myself. Also, again, just my working out, being more diligent with that. Another thing I'm doing to improve myself is I'm spending more time loving on myself than I did in the past. And so for that in itself is bringing lots of improvement because
Yes.
um, if I don't want to do it, I don't do it. No is a word that I'm not afraid to say because if I can't, if I say yes to everything, then I'm gonna be stressed out and. So I'm just learning how to just do a lot of self care, and in that self care, I do a lot of exercising, and I have returned to school. So that's my biggest thing I've done to work on myself.
That's incredible. With working on yourself and having a family as well, what do you want your legacy to be, not just in your career, but with your lifestyle to your peers and your family?
Wow, the legacy I want to leave. I never really thought about the legacy that I wanted to leave to my peers. Uh, but I've always thought about what I wanted to leave for my children, and I want to leave them in a better situation. I want when I'm gone to have instilled so much in them that they're able to be good citizens, um, good human beings. I want to be able to leave them, of course, in a place where they're not having to struggle. I may can leave them in a situation like um, Beyonce and Jay Z are able to leave their children, and that's fine. But I want to be able to just at least leave them to where they can begin above zero, um, and go after their dreams. I hope I pray that I leave the legacy of not settling and knowing that they can really achieve whatever it is they put their mind to. So a lot of times when I'm out here, I'm in school. It's not easy to go back to school. At 50 years old, you're young, you're nowhere near 50. But to go back to school at 50, it was a challenge. But I did it and I'm doing it because I want my children to look at me and say, hey, if mom accomplished that, even though my children, I have two children, my daughters have already earned their degree, my son is in his senior year. And I'm not just talking about degree, I'm talking about anything that they want to do in life. If
Yes.
they can look and say, mom did this hard thing, look, mom wrote a book, she wrote books, even when people told her not to write it, mom, she had streams on the side, mom bought a house. Though that's the legacy I want to leave for my children, that if my mom did it, I can do it. So I want to be that example to my children that it can be done, and they don't have to settle, and they don't have to just take what people give them. I often talk about, I preached a sermon saying, we worry so often about being invited to the table. But this is a season that God is allowing us to create our own tables, and then we can do the invitations. You know what I mean? So I want my kids to say, "Mama did it." Even though they've seen me cry, I've cried many nights. I sit up here like, why did I get back in school? But then, it turned out okay. Right now, I'm sitting at a 4.0 GPA.
Wow.
Who would have thought that? A girl coming from school, never made the honor roll, but look at me now, first went to college out of high school and didn't do well at all, flunked out. But, made the decision to return, and I'm more serious than I was now, I'm more serious now than I was coming out of high school. So that's the legacy I want to leave. My peers, hey, if I could just leave the legacy of encouragement and inspiration in what I write, in the books that I write, and in the messages that I preach, then that would be enough for me.
That's incredible. You said your kids inspired you to keep moving forward, but you're also inspiring your kids. It's an inspiration circle of life.
Yeah, they tell me that often. They tell me that often, and I tell when I hear that from them, it I'm trying not to tear up now, but it's amazing. That I can inspire them, and because that wasn't the goal. The goal was, you know, well, I guess it was the goal, and it's happening. So, they're my greatest encouragement. You
I
know,
guess your goal was kind of to live a better life for them,
yeah, yeah, and
but
in that,
inspiring
and
just
me living
followed.
exactly. So I'm really excited. I'm really excited. You know, when I hear it, Mom, I'm so proud of you. That right there, I'm like Pac-Man. I'm like that's what that power pellet I need to keep going when I hear my children say those words, and so I'm very humbled and honored.
Well, and one thing that's also incredible is I've gone 51 minutes and 30 seconds without asking my guests without what is their favorite food. And
My favorite food, my favorite food is chicken. Anything chicken. Anything chicken is my favorite food. Now, I like my favorite. I love it. I used to love it fried, but now that they've come up with this air fryer, I love air fried chicken or fried chicken, boiled chicken, grilled chicken, barbecue chicken. Hey, you name it. Anything chicken is my favorite food.
so, what is your goal with also traveling around? Because you said you wanted to travel, get out there. Where do you want to go?
My number one trip that in the is my heart of hearts is Hawaii. I've always said that once my last child graduated from college, and I was going to send myself to Hawaii. That's my trip to tell me, that's my pat on the back trip. Like you did it. You raised three wonderful children. You've had a successful career. And now go out and enjoy, Hawaii. And so that is my number one trip. But there are steps to get there. This year, one thing I told my daughter and my family and those that are close to me, I said this last year is that from that moment until the moment that the Lord closes my eyes for good, I want to go somewhere every year for my birthday. And so last year, my oldest daughter, she blessed me with a trip. We spent a week in New York. She heard me say that I wanted to go to a Broadway play in New York, and she did it, all expenses paid on her. So I
Wow.
was very grateful for that. And this year we traveled to Jamaica.
Wow.
She encouraged me to get my passport, and I realized I couldn't see the world without a passport, right? Because there's so much more to life than your neighborhood and Florida and all these other places and states. So I went and got my passport, and we went to Jamaica, and we've cruised. We love to cruise, so we are avid cruisers, and we've just returned from a Disney cruise a couple of days ago. But definitely Hawaii, Dubai. Next year on my radar for my birthday, I want to do Aruba, and so I'm just looking to travel outside of the United States just to see different cultures and experience that. Because one thing about it, with all that we hope to obtain, the house is good, the cars are good, but we can't take any of that with us. But we can take those experiences. Even if I'm laying on my sick bed, I'm gonna remember, hey, I went to Hawaii. You know what I mean? I ain't gonna remember nothing about I can't do nothing with this house. I can leave it to somebody, but those memories of traveling is something I can take with me, even when it's my time to leave here.
Yes, yes. So I have two questions. All right.
Okay.
When you went to Jamaica and New York,
Mhm.
you had to get their native items, their native items. You had to get the New York deep. You had to get the chili dog, New York New York deep pizza dish. You had to get the.
I So when we went to New York, it's so funny. One of our goals was we wanted to make sure that we ate a hot dog off the food truck, like they do in Law and Order. And so we did that. We were able, we wanted to do it at night. And so one night we left the hotel and we went out to the food truck and we did get the hot dogs. I didn't do the chili, but my daughter did. But it was an experience. And I took a picture and I was like, hey, this is my Law and Order hot dog. So that was great. When I went to Jamaica,
You got the
what
curry
we
goat. You got the jerk chicken.
I did. I got the curry goat and the jerk chicken. Wasn't really a fan of the jerk chicken, but the curry goat, yeah, that was good. Another thing we wanted to do, we wanted to taste the way they do oxtails as opposed to the way we do it. And it
Yes.
was good, but I'm still gonna say we do it better here. So I
Okay.
hope nobody is mad at me for saying that. But the curry goat was really good. It was really good. It was it was good. And the resort was just I just love Jamaica. We definitely are going again because my grandbaby wants to go. You know, she travels. She's an avid traveler, and that's something that my daughter has, made up in her mind she's going to do for her. And so she wants to go to Jamaica. So I know, grandma's going to tag along because it's a beautiful place. It is absolutely beautiful.
Yes. And um, really quick before you go, because our time is almost up, I want you to talk about where we could view your books, where we could read your books, where we could see your books, where we could.
So my book right now, we're actually on, you can view it on lulu.com. We're actually have been approved for global distribution. So we are waiting to actually get on Amazon and Barnes and Nobles.
Wow.
So that should be any moment now. Um, but my web page is actually being designed. So I did speak with my graphic artist a couple of days ago, and so it should be ready before the book launches um, on next Saturday. But in the meantime, you can get it from lulu.com, or you can send me a great, beautiful DM in my Facebook message, and I can actually send you a copy. But if you are in Georgia, particularly the South Fulton area down here, Union City. If you don't mind driving, we are having a book launch on next Saturday, September the 23rd. We're going to be at the Mental Fitness Academy, and the address is 5064 Harris Street in Union City, Georgia, 30291. We'll be there from the hours of 1 p.m. to 4:30, and you can come get a signed copy of my new book, The Wealthy Cemetery. And let me tell you, I'm not just saying this because I wrote it. This is a great book. This is a great, great book, and it will definitely something that you want to put in your library. So I pray that you can come out. Again, you can always DM me, and I can send you an autographed copy. So until my website gets up, and once it does, I will relay that information on my page as well.
Thank you, thank you. And we do have a question from my mom
Okay.
about how does the oxtails differ from the U.S.
How does the what?
Oxtails differ from Jamaica to the U.S.
I just think they put a lot of seasoning, spices on their food and on their oxtails, and that may be the way they like it. But for me, I like the more soul seasoning as opposed to the spicy. So, we ate it because we had to pay for it. But
So it's like the
definitely,
level of spices that you need to wear like a gas mask before coming
yeah,
into the kitchen.
yeah, I just don't think,
Yeah,
yeah, it's not mama or grandmama's oxtail. So I'm gonna have to give them a thumbs down on that. But on the curry goat, they definitely get a thumbs up.
how does that differ from the U.S.?
I've never had it, so I don't know. Like I've never
Mm,
had it here. I've only had it there. And so again, when you're staying in Jamaica, you're staying at a resort and you're eating their food, it's either you're gonna try their food or you're not gonna eat, right? And so curry goat was something that they served every night. And so I saw my daughter get some. We put it over some rice, and it was so
mhm,
good. It
mm.
was so good. So yeah, I love the curry goat. Definitely looking forward to going back there eating that. But I don't know if I would eat it from here though. I don't know.
You don't
Some
want
things
to
I
ruin
think,
it.
some things I think you should just eat in that native place. You know what I'm saying? And curry goat meat is one of them for me. So
Yes, yeah. Wow. Well, unfortunately, our time is up. But before we go, can you tell us where we could follow you, where we could find more information about you and all your upcoming stuff?
okay, well, right now you can follow me on Facebook. I am Kendra J. Allen. Again, I am learning. Again, this uh 51-year-old, I'm learning, all the different aspects of the different platforms. So we're in the process of building our Instagram page and our TikTok. So I'm going to be on TikTok probably looking crazy because I don't even know how to use it. But right now you can follow me on Facebook at Kendra J. Allen. And again, when my web page is done, I'll put that information on there and you'll be able to follow me there as well. Sorry, I got my little grandbaby that came over.
Oh, that's so good. Well, thank you first and foremost for coming on, and I really appreciate all that you have done for the community as well. Just sharing stories, author, it's incredible. Well, really,
Thank,
thank you.
thank you so much for having me, Jalen. I had a blast. Thank you so much.
Thank you to the wonderful audience out there in the audience. Make sure you check the book signing. My fingers got through the green screen. Make sure you check the book signing. Save the date. Thank you all. My birthday was yesterday, so thank you for all the birthday wishes you guys gave. It meant a lot. I really appreciate it. I had a good time. Went skating. Fell too many times. I'm still kind of sore, but it's all good. It's all good. Learned some new tricks. Went and watched movies. Spent some good time. It's pretty cool. Actually, wait. Give me one. Just give me just just. So this thing, right? I've been like wanting this for like months now, so I finally was able to get it on my birthday. It's like this looks like a phone. It's not. It doesn't have a SIM card, but it's like you see this little logo right here? It says Walkman. Sony released like a Walkman like earlier this year, and I really am into music and stuff like that. So after saving enough, finally got it on my birthday. It's pretty cool. It has like all the music controls on the side. It even has like a hold switch. A lot of you probably don't know what I'm talking about, but like I it's just something pretty cool. I used to have like, well, I guess my mom used to have one, but there was like this little blue MP3 player that my mom used to have, and I used to play that a lot. I didn't really have much music on it. Like I was able to download one song. That was it. It kept like deleting my saves for some reason, but I'm really glad I'm able to get another one. And I could watch TV on it now too, since it downloads stuff properly, and it's pretty cool. I used it all day yesterday. I mean, I'm talking a lot about it, but I'm yabbering, but whatever. Thank you all for watching. Thank you guys if you saw my last upload. I don't know if it was the last, but it was an uploaded video. I was at a driving concert. I did some I guess photography stuff, stuff like that. Also, more stuff's coming out soon. Editing stuff like that. It's getting done, and I just really appreciate all of you guys for the support. 620 subscribers. That's a bit more than last time, which is a lot more. I really appreciate you guys. I'm talking a lot. It's my birthday. Thank you guys. It was my birthday, but thank you guys. 14 now. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Stay tuned. Stay tuned for the next episode. Stay tuned. Peace. Bye.